Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Married with Comics for our special edition. I'm your host, Laura, and we are joined today with the incredible Garrett Gunn and Dr. Christie, who released Good Boy, the dog series that I have been talking to you all about since it started on Kickstarter, and now it has definitely reached fame and glory that we were certainly not anticipating. So thank you both so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So what started Good Boy? I mean, were you two just kind of sitting around and just like, this would be a great idea. Let's just poke fun at John Wick.
No,
I was poking fun at Garrett.
Yeah, she was making fun of me for having never seen John Wick. We were at a con and she was talking to my boss and I came over and I was like, hey, what are you guys talking about? And they were like, oh, John Wick. And I was like, oh, I've never seen it. Christy was like, well, you can leave the conversation then until you've seen the movie and then you can come back and come to the big boy table. And I was like, I like laughed it off and she was just like, I'm serious, leave. And I was like, okay. And I like went back with my tail between my legs and I went home and watched all the movies. And then I was like, wow, all right. I messaged her. I was like, these are really good. I really like this. I'm sorry that it took me so long to see it. I just had the idea that like, oh, this is stupid. Like, why has nobody done the reverse of this? Like, why has nobody done the dog killing everybody? And I knew that if I was going to make it, that I had to make it with the person that made fun of me and made me feel terrible for not having seen the movie. So
I didn't want to make you feel terrible. I was just messing with you.
No, but I didn't know that.
I
thought she was being a terrible person.
I'm the nice one.
She's not. She has everyone fooled.
So I have joked and said, 2021 kind of the year that comics went to the dogs. So Did you guys know that Stray Dogs was going to be coming out right before you all released it?
No, I had actually kind of forgotten about it. At the last C2E2 that happened before the pandemic, Tony gave me a copy of it and I read it and I was like, Tony, this is going to be the biggest thing that you've ever done. And then the pandemic hit. And so I forgot about everything except survival. We were like really deep in the Kickstarter when I think Stray Dogs came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had kind of forgotten about it. And I knew it was going to be a big hit because I had read it. And I was like, oh, this book's finally coming out. But I didn't even think dog and dog.
Yeah, I was introduced to Stray Dogs through working on Good Boy and then like having people like tag me and like tag the Kickstarter and stuff and be like, oh, I just picked up Stray Dogs. And if you like dog books, like you should check out this on Kickstarter. And I was like, what is Stray Dogs? And like, I started looking it up and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so awesome. I like went and like ordered all the books. We were on like when the Kickstarter ended and stuff, I think like 3 was just about to come out or something.
Yeah.
Because 1 had just come out and then 2 came out during the Kickstarter and then 3 came out like right after. And I was like, I started following it because of the like not the similarities in the story, but like the similarities in the fan base. Yeah. And I started seeing like people making fan groups and like people like it was like this huge thing. Everyone was like Stray Dogs, oh my God, oh my God. And then those same people kept talking about Good Boy. And then like it eventually got to the point where it was like there was this massive Stray Dogs fan group on Facebook that was then like, hey, we want to change this to Stray Dogs and Good Boy. Tony and Trish are cool with it. Are you guys cool with it? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. Like we owe a lot of our success to the fact that Stray Dogs like came out and just like injected the industry with dog material like and helped us out. So like
yeah, and in fact, it was during the Kickstarter we added the level where if we got to a certain level that Trish and Tony would write the backup story.
Yeah, because we asked them, we were like, man, like we feel like we owe a lot of like this of the success of Good Boy to the success of Stray Dogs. And like, it would be so cool to kind of blend these worlds and whatever. The thing about Trish and Tony that's so awesome is that they're so like active and like talking to their fans and like talking to people online. Trish kind of like reached out and was like, I'll do sketch covers for the Kickstarter. I'll do this or that. And we sort of like became friends through that. And then she was like, one day was like, yeah, I have to like confess something to you. And I was like, what? And she was like, I'm like a big fan of yours. I like my first slab is like Franklin and Ghost that you wrote. And like, I like read Warcorns. I love Warcorns. And I was like, this is so crazy. Like what? Wow.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy in a great way. They're the most down-to-earth people. They're so great. I did a panel with Trish at that I put together at Baltimore, and I basically made the panel just so that Trish and I could like chat for an hour. And there were a bunch of the Good Boy Stray Dogs group was there. And I knew they were going to be there, so I just made these little signs and put these are reserved for this group. And it was just like so funny. It was just the group is great. Tony and Trish are great. Yeah. And I do think that it was really good timing.
Yeah.
Especially when Joe Hill also tweeted, hey, I'm going to do a book where John dies and the dog lives.
Yeah, Joe Hill. He made a big Twitter post like as the Kickstarter was going on, and he said like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a reverse John Wick where the human dies and the dog hunts everybody responsible." He's like, "Call my agent."
Yeah, please tell me you guys responded to that.
So we didn't even have
to. Everybody
people else online were in it. They were like, Garrett and Christy beat you to it. Like, and they're like linking the Kickstarter, and they're like sharing all these images and like. It just was like crazy. There was just comment after comment, like of people being like suck it, Joe, like they already did it, like all this stuff. And we were like, what is happening? People are commenting like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm gonna go back it right now. Like it was just it was like this weird series of events that like were all unplanned that like somehow all triggered this success of this thing. It was just so weird. And every time we were turned around, we're like, did you see this thing that happened? Like what? It was just nuts.
And when we were writing this, it was just like, we had so much fun. We still are having so much fun.
Yeah.
And we're just like, it doesn't matter if it does good, great. If it doesn't, whatever.
We had no idea.
So much fun, and we love it. And so it's okay. And we had no idea that it was going to.
Yeah, we're like, we'll just do this 3-issue miniseries. It'll be awesome. And we'll get to like pay homage to John Wick, and it'll be this like cool thing. And it was just like, blew up. And we were like, oh, okay, I guess we keep writing this.
I was worried on the Kickstarter that we weren't going to make our goal.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask you guys. Because, I mean, most people, when they start a Kickstarter, they're always nervous that it's not quite going to make it. And yet you all ended up basically gathering over $46,000, and there were like
we made our goal in 3 hours.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done like 12 Kickstarters every time. I'm nervous every single time, no matter how good it is. But I'm like, okay, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I have enough of a fan base that I'm like, I know I'll hit a certain amount, a goal at a certain amount.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm less nervous about that, but I'm more nervous about the fact that I'm like, your Kickstarter goal is never actually the goal that it takes to be profitable.
Yeah.
Your goal is always like, what is the bare minimum I can make to pay for this thing to be done? But that still doesn't make you any money. So like when it came out and we like hit our goal so fast, and then it was like, I mean, people like Tom King and Chip Zdarsky and like all these Tinian and like Gail Simone and all these people are like sharing the campaign, and like it just was like every time you're refreshing the Kickstarter, it was like boom, 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 and we were just like, what is happening? Like, there's no way we make it to 20,000, right? Oh, there's no way we make it to 30,000, right? Like,
well, if we hit
40,000,
be the end.
Yeah.
It just kept going and going and going. So people that pledged like $10 got their money's worth.
We ended up, because of the stretch goals and stuff, we ended up every single $10 backer, which I think was like 200 and some odd people. We lost money on every $10 pledge because like each $10 pledge person got 3 foil stamped books, an ash can, stickers, like so much stuff. People were messaging us like, I think I got the wrong package. Like I backed for $10 and I have like all this stuff. And I was like, it's not wrong.
Well, so I backed it gladly. Yeah. And I mean, we've still been told kind of on the Kickstarter side that the posters, there's more to come. Like the other half of the Kickstarter is going to be released soon.
Yeah, because it's all being done by me. It's all back here. Like because there was like all kinds of like printing delays and like errors with like the books when they were done.
Yeah.
Like we were getting ready to like move on to the next project, and we were like, we don't want to do the next project until this is shipped. And like people were getting like most people were great. Some people were getting like frustrated, rightfully so, because like Street Date was coming and like they hadn't got their Kickstarter stuff yet, but people are buying #1 off the shelf, And the thing that a lot of people didn't realize, I said, we're like, yeah, but like you're getting like the whole book. Like you're getting #1 late, but you're getting the whole series before everyone else because you're getting everything.
And the can for volume 2.
Yeah. And so like it got to a point where like we were sort of getting so many messages from a small group of people about how pissed they were that we were like, you know what, we're just going to ship everything and we will get people the poster when they can, like when we can fulfill it. And it's like literally just been me taking 9x12 posters and putting them in stay flats and like mailing them to people. Like, so yeah, there is still people.
There's like 750 people or something like that.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot. It's a lot of posters to ship.
The Volume 2 Kickstarter, when is that going to be released, and what's the plan for that Kickstarter?
So February 18th, Volume 18 launches the day before we leave for the Good Boy World Tour.
Because we're idiots.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be the best way. I planned that specifically because I'm like, it's gonna be the easiest thing to promote it while we're on the road talking about Good Boy nonstop for 3 weeks. So Volume 2 Kickstarter launches February 18th. There's all kinds of awesome rewards. We're definitely like scaling back the like amount of tiers and like crazy stuff, and focusing more. Like I really made sure this time when the first campaign, we didn't expect the success. And so like a lot of the stuff we did was very like shooting from the hip. Like, let's just give them something. I don't know, give them whatever, And so this time it was much more like calculated and more like, okay, if we hit 20,000, the book slowly, like it's on like this scaled improvement thing where it's like you get the book and then like the book becomes, foil stamped, and then the book becomes chromium, and then the book becomes like this and added content, like, and it's much more thought through. Yeah. from the perspective of like we're expecting people to support it probably a lot.
We had no idea what to expect with this first one at all.
So
and you took your kids.
Yeah, my parents live in Utah, and the day our Kickstarter launched for Volume 1, I had to drive the 11 hours to like meet my parents to drop them off. And the whole way through like Nevada and like into Utah, there's like no reception. Yeah. So I had to like, when I was driving, I had to pull off and I had to connect to the Wi-Fi at a Pilot to like launch the Kickstarter from my Chromebook. And then I called Christy and I was like, I'm not going to have reception for like 3 hours.
Oh, by the way, you're going to have to all of this.
I was like, just share it everywhere. Tell everyone, like, make it your whole goal today. Wow. and I was like getting like little snippet pieces of reception, like in between. And I would like have the Kickstarter open, like refresh. And it was like, I didn't even see it until it was funded.
Yeah.
Like I launched it, got in the car, drove. It was like an hour and a half later, I got like a little bit of reception, and it was like 9,000. And I was like, "Gee, like what?" And then I got there and I like refreshed at 15, and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I told Christy, I'm like, "Clearly you did it right. You did exactly what I told you to." Yeah.
I'd never done a Kickstarter before, so I was just like, "Wait, what? Garrett? What? Garrett? What?" Yeah.
Although to be fair, she's like that about everything, no matter what it is. When I'm like, we got to do this thing.
Except for John Wick, the movies. She was very adamant. There's something you need to do. Go watch.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
So for Volume 1, I mean, there were a ton of John Wick references and different ways that you put in those little asides and little moments that the more you watch the movies, the more you're going to see it in the books. So is Volume 2 going to stay sort of more tongue in cheek and keep reminding people of the series, or are you going to start going in different directions?
We like when we did the first one, you know, we knew like very early that the thing that is great about John Wick is that it's so simple. It's high pay, it's fast paced action, badass, violent, crazy, nonstop, and then it's over, and you're like, what just happened? Like, this is crazy. There's so much more. We knew there was so much more that we could tell, like in that story. The stuff that's in between. You know, you have a 2-hour movie. You can tell a lot more in a miniseries comic, you know, than in a 2-hour movie. Yeah. So like we knew there was a lot of gaps we wanted to fill, while also still making it very clear that this was like felt like John Wick. Yeah. You know, we also knew the minute that we got approved to take the story on after volume 1, we were like, we still want the feel, we still want the John Wick feel, and you know what we call Wickisms, but we wanted to tell our own story that still had a little bit of that. Like, I mean, like clearly there's sort of like some similar themes, you know, in terms of like overall plot points and stuff like that, but it's definitely like our own thing. There's new locations, a new team of people.
The new best character ever.
Christy's favorite character is in this is in volume 2.
He's so good. Have you seen the cover for volume 2?
No.
It's so good. So volume 2, we find Flint, you know, Flint has sort of gotten his revenge and is like finally ready to like be at peace. And he goes to a place called.
He was just like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm done. House. Yeah.
Everything's cool now.
Yeah. So he heads to a place called the Farm, which is a guild-owned location that's like, you know, when we say like our dog went away to live on a farm, when they died. Yeah. And so the Farm is sort of like where retired mercenaries and like sort of like people who've been taken out of service go to live. Yeah. And it's like this nice, serene sort of community in the mountains. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go to this place and I know people that live there and I'm going to go just live the rest of my life out. And he sort of like gets there and something terrible has happened. Some people from like the past of these other characters that are introduced has sort of like gone there to try to get back at them for something that happened a long time ago. And Flint is sort of like rethrust into like this crazy, just train wreck that's happening.
Past came back to bite him.
Yeah. Oh, you see that? Damn.
Yes.
I didn't tell her she could say that. I want you to know. I had no part in that.
So of course, with the first Kickstarter, you had an opportunity for people to have their dogs drawn into the comic book. I'm hoping that'll be available for, you know, volume 2. But the most important question that I've asked, you know, Trish and Tony is, you know, are there going to be Greyhound appearances? Because that's always important.
Absolutely. I mean, we really we tell people, like someone asked me the other day, they were like, how do you guys like have you had a boxer? Have you had this? And I'm like, whenever we make characters, we really put like probably too much time into like really figuring out what the best breed of dog is to like match, you know, like to match the personality and like sort of the character they're playing and like, you know, really like get into it, you know, like the big thing with Abraham, who's the leader of the farm, it's Christy's favorite character in this new book, is that like when we knew we wanted this place, this farm, this like serene sort of big country location, we started looking at, okay, what are good guardian dogs? And we started looking at, you know, then we filter down to breeds that are like guardians. And then we got to that. And
on this.
The what?
You spent like 2 days on this.
For real. Yeah, it was a lot. And then it like really, we got all the way down to then we found like a Great Pyrenees, which is literally, its nickname is the Farm Guardian. And we were like, what? This is perfect.
It is ridiculous because I had one.
Crazy. Yeah. So
then we had to decide, well, okay, so what's he going to look like? So now the only time we didn't do that though was with the tailor. And issue 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did kind of, I just looked up like most expensive dog breeds.
Yeah.
And then I filtered them by like how big they were, because I knew I wanted him to be very small. sort of like an Edna Mode character. Like I wanted him to be very like tiny, but have all this power and have all this, like he does all this cool stuff. And it was an Italiano something. I can't remember the second part of it. It's like they're like $20,000 dogs and they're this big. And I was like, what? So that was, we got the Taylor.
Just like shocked us though with how amazing it was.
Yeah.
He's so awesome.
But we try to get like all of them in there. Like there is, I mean, we're trying to fit everything. There will be greyhounds, I'm sure. If there hasn't already been drawn, like Kit's drawing it right now, there probably is already some in there. But
if not, they'll be curled up in a sleep, roaching, and then eventually they'll roll on over and be like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be doing something."
Yeah, there you go.
Is this the first, series that you two have done together? Is this the only series you two are doing together? How on earth did you two meet and decide that this was going to be the series?
What'd you say?
I said I'm never working with her again after this.
Whatever.
No, we do a ton of stuff together. Like we wrote a series called Postmasters together, which was like a post-apocalyptic mail carrier book. We obviously Good Boy was like the first.
That was the first time we worked together on
the first thing we like really worked together. And I mean, now it's like we have this little group, and it's like it's me and Christy and our artist Kit Wallace and our letterer and designer Dave Lentz. Like we have this like little group of people that like we all like work really good together. So now we all just do everything together. Like everything that we do is just like all of us. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of things that we do together.
We've got so much going on. I always call him my ride or die. So
dork. She's out of control.